Hello traders, wonderful weekend, Vladimir here, and this is the live market review for weekly review for the week started on 9th of July until the 14th of July. So the last week was very quiet, very boring in some view, and two main factors affected that. One, summertime started, a lot of traders on vacations, holidays, and that means that the volumes are not as high as they used to be and will be again later on this year. And the second is, of course, the non-farm payrolls and the FOMC that the market was looking for. Everyone is until the 26th of July, then we will have the announcement of the rates with a statement from the Federal Reserve. Until then, it will be mainly based on speculations. And this week, we have a very interesting view data to be published on Friday as well, and that's the CPI and the core CPI in the US, together with the retail sales and the core retail sales. That will be published on Friday. Before that, we have speech from Ms. Yellen on Wednesday and Thursday, rate from Canada, and Canada is expected to increase the rate this week, so we will have to pay attention to that. That might keep affecting, of course, on the dollar Canadian and the other pairs. And that's all. That's the main events basically this week. There will be PPI in US as well, so we have to pay attention on that. So now let's go back to the technical, and I want to start with something that is really interesting, and that's the silver. Why it's so interesting? Let's start with the very big view. For long run, the silver will find the bottom, which might be here, might be slightly lower, might be. Will complete this crazy divergence creating on the monthly chart and will fly, maybe even to all-time new highs. That will take long time, of course, but that's something to remember. Okay? For long run, there's all the reasons to look for the investments. Short run, the view is that based on the weekly chart cycles, take a look where this one is bouncing from the 61.8. It was spiking through the last day, the last trading day from last week. But take a look on the magnets of all these cycles. It's bouncing from this crazy area. It spiked through to clean the area and then turning up. And from my point of view, this is a great sign to start and look to collect the investment. This is the first opportunity to go by the trend line. That could be a wonderful chance to look for the investments here and to start building up the positions. If we go below this area, then we have the 13 zone as the next potential monster, as you can see right here. Okay? That these levels could and should be, well, very well treated. The next one would be only below 11, but that's the critical zones, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, where from the silver will fly. And those of you who are looking for these classical investment opportunities, this one is really amazing. And also for short-term trading, of course, turn about the trend line, pullbacks, and we are after buys. Now take a look on the view of the crystal ball. Let's take a look what it gives us for the silver for potential reversals day 10 and 12. See that? That's gonna happen right at the beginning of this week, and we have to pay attention to it because that might be the very classical place to look for these buys to form. Okay, so I wanted to start with that as it's really hot, and so does the gold, which completed the double cycle move down and potentially making us a range pattern. We had a false break here, we had a false break right here, Now this might be the final area for this drop, but we have also a critical one area from here, so that and that suddenly turn to be the buy zones. In terms of dates, this one also has the 10th and 14 on middle class and 15. So again, classical place come this week. And if we take a look on the cycles in terms of goals as well, we have one here and one slightly lower. That's our buy zones. And break above trend lines. Currently this is a trend line, but if we will develop another one, let's say something like that, okay, then this would be the last trend line. And break above that, and we can look for the buy opportunities. Really, really great opportunities, which we should start looking at to get ready to trade them. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start with. Next, now let's go back to Forex. Let's start with the dollar yen, which we expected a continuation of the move up from previous week, and it did. Now the question is what's coming next, and if we take a look and we analyze this cycle to the upside, we will learn that we are currently sitting and fighting the 100 zone. Yeah, slightly bit more to go potentially to around the 115, and that could be a monster area. Okay, classical double cycle with dropping tops for potential divergence. 4-hour chart would provide the complete triple cycle by itself, so something like that. 1, 2, and from the range 3. Okay, and it might provide some amazing opportunity there. So I would say if we can see that rallying a bit more above the 114 and getting closer to 115 area, get ready for monster sells. Okay, if we reach this area right here, then this is our trend line that will have to be broken, and we will go and start looking for the sells. That's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is we break the trend line, but by 3 waves. So we get 1, 2, 3. We break this trend line. We retrace in 1, 2. And then with the breakout, we are for sells. That will give us triple cycle with double cycle movement in the very first corrective cycle, which means this would be an amazing sell setup. That's the 2 scenarios for us to look for sells. And if we take a look on in the dates, we will learn. You see that? That's 115 on daily chart. That's amazing zone. And we can see that the monster levels to come would be 12 and 15, very powerful days, and then 19, 20. So that would be really amazing if we can get it where we want it and start building that up. And that brings me to the pound yen, which has a magnet around the 150, 151 area, which I believe has all the reasons to try and go there. You see where it leads us, guys? Take a look here. You see that? You see that? That this magnet is amazing. And on the 4-hour chart, guess what? That could be what? A special cycle right there. Have a look. Boom, boom, boom. That's a monster potentially coming there. So from my point of view, we are yet for buys, and the lower, the better. We need 2 waves to the downside to start looking for the buys. Okay, that's what we need. So 1, 2 on any of the variations here, and we are after buys towards the 150, 151 zone. Now, if we take a look here, statistically, we have 7. So it was Friday, right? We have this potential top, and we got this top during Friday. Pullbacks, and we should rally towards 19, 18, between 18 to 22. So pullbacks, buy, and we have a room to go to the upside. Keep an eye here. This one is really, really, really interesting. And if we're looking at the supports to look for these buys based on crystal, this is where we get it. 1 and 2 classical zones. New Zealandian yen, another pair that is rallying to the crazy levels, and we are still fighting and dancing around the 161.8. It could go and rally towards 84, and that would bring us to these conclusions. So we will have here one ranging cycle, big movement, ranging cycle, one more, and crash. We have all the reasons to go for crash already. We had one false break right here. We might have a false break right here, and if we do, then a move below this area, pull back, and we are after massive sells. If we keep rolling above the 83.50, 84 zone, we will mark the last trend line, which is currently this, and from there with the breakout, so let's say that's what happens. From there, boom, correction, and sell. If we observe the dates, okay, now here we were looking, you see that, for this sells. That was right at the beginning of the month, and we got this drop down. Now, bounced from the supportive area, we are rallying towards, and we have one here, one at 84. One of these areas would be the critical zone. 9 and 11 could make the move happen, and if not, that's another yen pairs leading us to 90 and 23 zone, which means it might happen right here and crash. So stay tuned. We are on the levels we are looking to trade. Two scenarios: one, break of this trend line, break below the low of 82, retrace and sells. Scenario number two, preferable maybe technically even, rallying towards the 84 area and starting the top. And that brings me to the euro yen, another yen pairs. Now this is also a good time to mention that we don't want overexposure. Therefore, choose the one that has the best setups and the risk reward. And this one is the one we should trade. And the euro yen provides for us on the weekly chart a double cycle, which is this. Stopping here. Okay, so it has all the reasons to start stopping here. If not, we are to 138, which is of course also an option. But we are on a critical zone, weekly and daily, has all the divergences. 4-hour chart has the special cycle by itself, so we can start looking for short-term sells. Observing the data from crystal ball, we can see that 9 and 11, this is a very, very powerful potential days for retraces, which means the few first days of the beginning of the week we expect pullbacks to happen, where from we'll have later on to see and watch the decision for. What we need here is two false breaks. Currently we are building up only one false break, which is okay, but it might build it for us. So something like 1, 2, breakout for lower lows, retrace and sells. Keep an eye, that could be really, really great one. We can keep going for all the yens, CAD yen and so on, no need, they all bring us to the same conclusions. Let's talk about majors. Euro dollar rallied and again bouncing from the 114, which could be the top, or we could still get it to 115, 116 before the move down. From my point of view, as long as there are no false breaks since this high was broken, there is no real reasons for sales yet. So looking for the buys. And the pound versus the dollar, as suggested not once, the lower we go the better it is, and that remains on. We have this double correction here, which after it finished, it could be here or here. After it finished, for me, break above the trend lines should provide a buy opportunity, which leads me to the euro pound, a pair that we have been talking about for a while, saying that 089, 090 zone is definitely zone we have to pay attention to complete this special cycle. And that's what I want to see happening. If it does, that would be the area for us to look for the sells. And if we go to the crystal ball, taking on the zones, take a look, that's 0.89, that's 0.90, another supportive area. And in terms of dates, 13, 14, 17 are very, very powerful days. So middle to the end of this week, this would be the time for us to look to sell tops. So the higher we go, the better the sells would be for us. Okay, so let's assume, just for example, we get something like that. That would be classical place for us to start and building up our shorts. Look for small risks, of course, and after that go and look for sells. Small risk, big rewards, that's where we want to be involved. Cad Frank, a pair that we have been talking about for a while to the upside. My view did not change here. Of course, we will want to rejoin after pullbacks, and I believe now that the first area was broken, we are going for a duplication for both cycles, which means 0.7550 zone. That's what we get. Okay, that's the classical area. That would be our first one, and that would be the next one to pay attention to. That's where I would expect some pullback, deep pullback. Where from? I believe we are going higher, 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 higher. Every pullback you get, guys, get involved. We want to be in these buys. That's all I can say. And same with the Aussie franc. We want to go up and up and up only. We got a correction in two waves here. This is well seen on the 4-hour chart. We got this. Now it looks like a little correction, still bouncing from 61.8. So buys it is, and buys only as long as this bottom holds. If this bottom is broken, there is a good chance we're going to get lower levels. So anyway, direction for us, only buys. The lower we get it, the better. Aussie versus the Kiwi. I still want one of the two scenarios. The best scenarios is the drop towards 103 or lower and monster buys. And the other scenario that remains on is that we are currently already in a range, and this would turn to be a bottom for us right here for potential reversals. For that to happen, we need the 4-hour chart to provide us the opportunity to go up. So something like that, breakout, pullback, and buys. In terms of dates, we also have the days here waiting for us, 10, 12. Later on it will be only 18 and 19. Very classical periods and dates to come. Let's keep going. Euro versus the Kiwi. Another monster which we want to get involved to the buys. Of course, we got a first move down. Now here where it comes tricky. Since we still cannot rally from here, there is some technical chance we are going to get this, and from there fly. So the summary I can say here is the lower we get would be the better. It could get us down to this range, and from here we are going to look for some trendline breakouts and fly, or it could start to build for us some kind of slow positions like that and a fly. So what we need is every 2 waves down we start to look for buys. If it's to the bottom of the range, or if it's on a bigger view to the previous lows. Every drop down we are after buys. And that brings me to the New Zealandian dollar, which is here, finally broke this bottom, but without any real confirmation. So what we can say is, if we get here 2 waves, 1, 2, and breakout, we can start looking for sells. If not, then there is a very good chance that this pair is for one more high towards the 0.74 area or so before it crashes. That's 2 scenarios for the New Zealand dollar. And as for the Aussie dollar, so far doing exactly what we wanted. That would be, by the way, the ideal scenario, of course, where from we would want to go and look for buys. So keep an eye on that one. That doesn't change. You can see all these pairs. I just make a quick review from the last forecasts we had, and just to catch up, so you know what we follow. Dollar Canadian. We have to pay attention to the data to come this week and the cash rate there. We are on 161.8. If it holds below, there is a great chance we are going down to 129. I would pay attention to 128 area also, which might be some important level of this correction. See that? Where from we might start to get some bounce. So with the news to be published this week, we have to be careful. Currently it remains every rally to be sold 128, 127.50, and if it breaks below that, we aim the 125. Indices still untradeable, and that's the bottom line here, still nothing. And for oil, again the same view. We remain short as long as this top holds. If we break below this area, we are going to 40 down to 38 area, maybe even lower. But the good news are the lower we get by ideal to this trend line, the better the buys would be for the future. So for oils, for the long run, buy the bottoms. How do we know where the bottom is? Wherever we get a bullish divergence with false breaks and trendline breakouts to create higher highs. That's our time to start looking for the buys, not before. And sugar, bouncing beautifully, looking good, gaining the confirmation. We need triple cycle to the upside. Currently, we in order to change our mind for buys, we have this. If we have this, after that 2 waves down, and we can start looking for buys. New contract about to come soon, the October contract, so keep an eye. That's another great opportunity for investment for the long run. And of course this one, we've been talking about that's the dollar versus the ILS, and that has an amazing cycle for us, guys. We are right on the 161.8 of this, and right on the 100 of this, right here. Okay, so that's critical zone. And of course the daily cycle has the area for us, and that's a triple cycle. All the reasons for buys as investment, of course, but also want to play more conservative, break above this high correction, and we can see that going all the way higher. That's all. Plenty of opportunities, a lot of great setups. We covered almost the complete majority of them. So if you have any question, please write down. I will answer that with a pleasure for you. And if you like that, leave your feedback, please. Share the video with anyone who you believe can benefit from it, of course. Our goal was and remains try and help traders get better decisions on the right direction. That's all. And remember, my friends, that it's not about trading more, it's about trading right. Okay? And for all those of you who are rushing to build the account, remember that that's probably not the smartest thing to do. There is one quote I always say to anyone who I see doing this very, very common mistake and rushing to build his or her account. There is a quote of my own where I say there are only 2 options for trading: slow and grow, or fast and blow. You choose the way you want to trade, my friend. And if you want to grow, remember it takes time and you have to be consistent. Okay? If you just want to play around and try things, go ahead, you can do that, try to do it faster. But to make a real grow and to make a real success, it takes time. There are no shortcuts to the top. You cannot climb the mountain by skipping the levels of it. It's impossible. Well, same here. It takes time until you reach the top. And if you're ready to go through, then remember, wait for the opportunities. If you force that, if you force something to be an opportunity, most likely it's not, and most likely you will regret it, and you pay for that. Wait for the best opportunities. Okay? And the better results are always for those who trade the better setups. And the better setups are the same setups that have the best starting point for you, where you get the majority of your confirmations. Then and only then you can look and trade it. If you start bend the rules, bend the confirmations, that's not going to end well. So I wish you a wonderful week. Thank you very much once again for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed creating that as every weekend for you guys. And that's all. I wish you great trading once again. Thanks for your time. Feel free to share the video and leave your feedback. Yours, Vladimir Ribakov.